Hi everybody, this is Bastiaan and this is the annotation of a game I just played against the Atlas 2.2 engine using the Greco gambit of the Vienna game. So I'm playing white, e4, e5, knight c3, then knight to c6. So I've set up the board for a Vienna game, and then f4, the Greco gambit. And this type of position is very similar to the King's Gambit, and the playing style will be about the same. So pawn takes pawn, so we're seeing the Greco Gambit accepted. Knight f3, d6, and d4. So the point of offering up the Gambit pawn is to remove the pawn from e5 to f4, so to remove him from the center. Now I'm taking control of the center, and the idea is to recapture in some cases the pawn afterwards, and I feel it's a little bit easier to do this with the Greco Gambit than with the King's Gambit itself. So play continues with g5. So much like the King's Gambit, we're seeing a variation where black tries to hold on to his Gambit pawn, and this will be undermined eventually with pawn to h4, which will remove the defender and allow the capture of the pawn on f4. d5, chasing away the knight. Knight goes to e5, and now bishop to b5, and bishop to b5 check normally is a bad idea because of c6, which can block the check with tempo, but now with a pawn covering c6, it's actually a good move. So if, for instance, pawn to c6, which wasn't played, we get take and a fork between the two pieces. So black simply can't play pawn to c6. Instead, black plays bishop to d7 to block the check. So if bishop takes, I can develop my knight. However, if I capture the bishop, black will have some issues in recapturing, because of if queen takes bishop, there's no longer any protection on the pawn, on the backward pawn on g5. So the queen can't recapture, and the only two options are king or knight. So either black undevelops his knight, or plays king takes and loses castling privileges. So black plays king takes, and I continue with my plan with h4 to undermine the defender. Of course, if black recaptures, this pawn is hanging, and I'm having two pieces to recapture because black still has the queen covering h4. Black plays knight takes knight, and I play queen takes, which is a good development for white, because now I'm having an extra defender on the pawn on f4. Also, the queen is covering g2. So h5, pawn takes pawn, queen recaptures, and now bishop takes on f4. So I've regained my gambit pawn and gaining a little tempo with this attack on the queen. Queen being poorly placed on g5 for the moment. So queen retreats to g6. Now this king is a target, so queen h3 check, king d8, and I castle. bishop to g7, trying to remove a defender. And now engines like normal continuation, like rook to e1 before pushing the pawn, adding protection to e4. But instead I immediately play e5, sacrificing the pawn with 2 attackers and only 1 defender. So pawn takes. And the reason why I'm doing this is to open up the DNE files for the king, which cannot castle anymore. d6, trying to get rid of the second pawn. Of course, this allows an attack on the bishop on f4, but this cannot be played yet because of if e takes f, you simply get pawn takes pawn check, king e8, queen check, king f8, queen check, rook takes, and then pawn takes queen checkmate. One possible continuation, doesn't have to be checkmate, but black will be losing if he takes on the bishop. So instead pawn takes pawn was played. So I'm down a pawn, but I've removed my pawn center. Now knight to b5. Idea is to create a fork. That's the immediate threat. And now the queen has to move, either king or queen, and the queen moves to g4. And the reason why is that now that black has a pawn advantage, he wants to create pieces and remove threats. So he's threatening queen takes queen, also threatening queen takes pawn in some cases. More importantly, he's forking this bishop with tempo check on the king. So it looks like I'm more or less forced to exchange queens. I can play rook takes pawn check, but afterwards I'll have to make the decision if I want to exchange queens or not. But I decided to dump the bishop and simply play queen to a3. So now black can take on the bishop on f4, so I'm losing a piece here. Queen takes, check, king goes to b1. But now of course I'm having 3 attackers on this backward pawn with check, and there's not much that black can do to prevent this attack. If for instance bishop f8 is played to protect d6, this only prevents me from attacking with the queen immediately, but rook takes is still possible, check, and if bishop takes, queen takes, check, king e8, knight c7 mate. So bishop f8 as a defense fails completely. So black tries e4, preventing the immediate attack with the queen, but it's just the same problem. Rook takes check, king e7, and now I can continue development with rook to d1, but one of the threats that black has is a back rank mate in some cases, and I play rook to f1 instead. And at first glance this looks like the suicide move because of queen takes check, grabs in between rook, and then queen takes mate, but actually it isn't so because of the discovered attack on the queen, on the king. Discovered check. So if queen takes rook check, then rook takes check, king moves, and black will lose his queen. So this is pretty comical. Rook develops to f1 and black cannot recapture. Instead, black plays bishop takes pawn, attacking my queen. Of course, if the queen moves, rook hangs. And then this rook hangs. So king takes bishop, and now queen e5 check. This of course loses the knight. King to c1. Now the two most logical continuations are queen takes knight or queen a1 check. Now queen a1 check, which wasn't played, leads to king to d2, and if queen takes rook, it's rook to c6 check, and now black's king has to move either to one of the two green squares or the yellow square. So if he moves to one of the green squares, we can follow up with queen d6 check. If he moves to a yellow square, we get an in-between move. Knight to c7, forcing black's king to the green squares. d8 or d7 doesn't matter, then the queen comes in check, forcing king to c8. Knight takes rook check, forcing pawn takes rook. Then queen to c7 mate. So the queen a1 move loses. Black takes on the knight on b5, but that's also losing. So we continue with rook to d4 check. Keep in mind that rook to d5 check, gaining tempo on the queen, is also possible, but black will lose the queen just the same after rook d4 check, because now black's king can only move to e6 or e8. Rook takes check, he can only move to d7 or d8. And rook d1 check, and black is in a mating net, and he will have to sacrifice the queen for a rook in order to survive. Queen d7. So now we exchange. Queen d3 check, rook c4 check, queen to d6 check, queen a3, and queen to b3 check and mate is rook to a4 check and mate is one possible continuation. So that was my game against the Atlas engine using the Greco gambit of the Vienna game. I hope you enjoyed watching this game. Please leave a comment and have a great evening.